with a chain on your brain, with niggas no playing. King Alfred plan, vaporize, no bodies laying. Got nations reclaiming republics back. Constitution enforcing on the demo acts colored. Can't be a verse, I'm a more first. Will claim to be ham and catch that pork curse. Following black power that lost debates. Slap Doc for having a lawyer, set the record straight. The Moors are back, burn your Nuwapian race. Pushing Malachi York with no Ellis fake. Allah's temple of Islam, perpetrate the fraud. Push Drew to the back, uplifting fraud. Claiming to be Lord, get thrown overboard. Dirty Moors talk, I walk cause y'all overboard. Got sisters, heads under, not over swords. Camera clutch minds with hope and thoughts. Iron sheet knowing, all niggas
Good love, Morris. Let's rise and get the prayer. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom.
And
justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
And
my salvation. By night. And by day. Who is an holy prophet. Noble Juali. Islam. Peace, Moors. Today's everybody could have a seat. Today's presentation is going to be by Sheikh Jabbar Gaines Ill. Before we get started up, we're just going to go through some information and get some things on the record. First of all, upstairs we have this flyer upstairs. This is the aims and goals of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Ontario Territory, Office of the Canaanland Grand Body. 1. The proper name must be selected for the Moorish American. Islam more. Some call him Black, African Canadian, Caribbean Canadian, West Indian, from the islands, at risk, etc. The proper name of these people is Moorish American because they are descendants of Moroccans born in America. This matter is to be looked at with hopes of correcting it. 2. We seek to put an end to all inferior names because possession of these inferior names classifies one as civilly dead for all abuses and mistreatments that lawful citizens care to bestow upon them. 3. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity, a national organization with a Rotarian complexion. 4. We seek to warn humanity of the sinful ways and inspire them to return to their foremothers and forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be jurisprudence abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to their free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. 5. We seek to keep our people, men, women, and children away from negative scenarios involving peace officers, out of courts, in a defendant capacity, and out of jails and prisons. 6. We seek to continue to facilitate social programs such as prison ministries and transitional programs for young and old to transition out of prison institutions and back to the bands of society peacefully and successfully. 7. We seek to introduce Moorish Americans in Canada to the morals and principles of their ancient foremothers and forefathers. We are teaching their men that they must support their wives and children. Wives must honor their husbands and be the foundation of the household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of uplifting fallen humanity. 8. We seek to educate humanity with the reality that there is enough work for all to do to help build a better world. 9. We seek to rally support from all loyal, faithful, active Moorish Americans, members, and lawful citizens to help us in our great work of uplifting fallen humanity. We ask all to help us morally and financially. 10. The remedy of truth is the cure for religious controversy. We seek to foster the teachings of Yahshua, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Confucius, Ali, and all divine prophets. 11. We seek to teach our people that though we must be proud of our religion, Islamism, handed down to us by our ancient foremothers and forefathers, we must never use our doctrines to practice segregation. 12. We seek to teach our people that success is earned, not given. After the example of our Prophet Noble Juali, we must labor day and night in public and private for the good of humanity. 13. We seek to teach our people to denounce anything that alludes to slavery, to the institution of slavery. This includes being late to engagements, appointments, meetings, or occasions. Punctuality is a trait of the noble, upright, fearless, and independent Moor that have love for their people through the guidance of Father God Allah. 14. We seek to teach our people that there is only one sole foundation for the salvation of our people, and it comes only through the connection to the Moorish divine and national movement of the world founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. 15. It is earnestly hoped that the Moorish divine and national movement of North America and the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the world and the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to be compared to any Back to Africa movement. 16. We seek to remind our people that without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin, and there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their uncivilized undertaking in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. So our position as vanguards of the Prophet, our position as individuals who have a higher degree of knowledge, is to get those people who don't have the knowledge that we have at least gravitating toward where we are, right? Like we said, we're here to teach the basic principle. And the basic principle that our people need to understand is that they're not Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian, they're not Canadian, they're not white, they're not slave brands. That if we go to Europe, there's going to be all these family crests in Europe showing Moors heads on them. Right? If we go to Asia, there's going to be temples in Cambodia with brothers and sisters' faces on them, like to this day right now. If we go to Hindustan, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, etc., they're going to say that the ancestors of them are dark-skinned people, and that collectively all these people in Asia are known as Moors. If you go to the Philippines, they're going to say, don't call us Filipino, call us Moro. If we go to the Greeks are going to tell you the first people of Greeks were the M-A-U-R-E-S, Moors. If you go to Italy, Sicily, anywhere in that region, Mediterranean region, they're going to tell you that people who look like us are misnomered as Muli, right? And our ignorance is going to take that as derogatory when really they're calling us Muli because of the Muli family or the Muli brothers who civilized, ruled, brought knowledge, information, or whatever to those areas. Muli Arshi, right, and Muli Ishmael. Documented fact, right? And they played it out in True Romance. They played it out in Black Knight with Martin Lawrence. They played it out in Celestine Prophecy movie. They played it out in Wild Wild West with Will Smith, the spider-leg guy, called him a handsome blackamoor in the movie, right? So it's not a secret. It's not something that people don't know. The problem is that our people don't know. And because of our people lacking knowledge, that's why the scriptures talk about our people die for a lack of knowledge. Not because they don't know God, or not because they can't find God, or they don't have a relationship with God, because our people die because they lack knowledge, right? The lecture today is called The State of Mind of the Moorish Ancients. And that's directly coming from the divine warning by the Prophet for the nations. So the divine warning by the prophet for the nations implies that he's not just speaking to dark-skinned people. He's talking to everybody. Because everybody right now, at this time, is under suppression by corporate powers. So if we look at what happened just in Boston the other day ago, right now they're in martial law in Boston. Right now, doesn't matter what you look like, you can't leave your house right now. Right? Like that's just, so everybody's under suppression. But all those things come back to noble duality and divine warning, right? That if the people don't change their situation and don't change how they've been trying to force this uncivilized position on the world, right? The worst is yet to come. And a lot of that worst we're experiencing right now, today, from Monsanto with fake food, GMO and all that, right? You know, apples, oranges, grapes, whatever that are seedless, right? To Boston, people, you know, bombing stuff. In this land, this is not even like somewhere else, right? In this land they're bombing, right? Islam family.
Islam very chic. Islam Moors.
We're just giving you your intro still, so you can just hold tight for a little bit.
Islam.
All right. Right. So all these things that's going on in the world is directly happening because we strayed away from the teachings of the prophet, right? Like strayed away in the sense of pretending like he didn't even exist. And majority of that is because of people who didn't adhere to that first lesson, that you're not Negro, black, colored. And they took those lessons, made thousands, millions of dollars, built up all these temples and mosques and synagogues and whatever buildings all across the world in order to keep people in that mindset that they're Negro, black, colored people. When Noble Duality came and said that we're not that, right? So, just to verify, right, what we're talking about, on March 25th, 2011, right? On March 25th, 2011, case file number 4863 999 301 60400 in the Ontario Court of Justice in the matter of the Provincial Offences Act 1990, Her Majesty the Queen, in all capital letters, versus Kevin S. McCletchy, in all capital letters. Now, when we look at the Marcus Garvey case, right? In the Marcus Garvey case, in his book, Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, there's a section talking about his case. And his case was United States, in all caps, versus Marcus Garvey, in all caps. And under United States, it said plaintiff in error. And under Marcus Garvey, it said defendant in error. Meaning that everybody's position in that case was fraud from the start. Right? But they still went ahead with the case just for the simple fact that Marcus Garvey, being that he was a student of Yusuf Muhammad Ali, who was a Sudanese Moor, documented fact that Yusuf Muhammad Ali called himself a Sudanese Moor, and people called him a Sudanese Moor. And they called him Bey Effendi, which is Moorish name, right? And he was a student of Prophet Noble Ali, who came and said, you're not Negro, black, colored, but then he's gonna have an organization called Negro Improvement Association. But no Ujwali said you're not Negro, black, colored. Right? So, based on his going against the prophet, just like we were talking about in the divine warning, if you don't adhere to the principles of the prophet, then judgment is going to get you. It's just simple as that. Right? So, we've been through the institutions called courts, right? Before coming into this information. And we always go through them and they railroad us all the time. Throw us under the bridge, throw us under the bus, throw us under the truck, throw us under the car. Like Sean Price said, throw you in front of the car, drive over you, reverse, drive over you again. Right? So, this was my case. My case was before His Worship, Justice of the Peace, I.S. Chandhok. Justice of the Peace, I.S. Chandhok was a Hindustani Moor that came into the court with his turban on, no robe, just a suit, right? And he made the statement, in this case right here, that I don't have jurisdiction to hear this case. I don't want nothing to do with it, and walked out.
This was recently?
This is March 25th, 2011. Right? Why did he take that position? Because the Moorish protocol is that before you go to court, you submit some type of documentation to the court, or fraudulent court, administrative building, whatever, to let them know that you're going to be making an appearance there. And you put all your things on the record. Right? The charges that were, and again, when we go through the charges, you're going to know that every single one of these, if you ask anybody else out here, did they go to court for charges like this? They're either going to tell you that they got fined, or they got jail time, or something happened. It didn't go the way that it goes with Moors, right? So the charges, operate motor vehicle without insurance, driving while under suspension, fail to surrender permit of motor vehicle, confusing identity plate, fail to report accident, driver motor vehicle, no current validation on plate, failure to notify change of address, driver motor vehicle, no plates.
That's two more than me.
Right?
That's one word, yeah.
Appearances. Now this is the transcript, right? Appearances. Ms. P. Guerrero, provincial prosecutor. Mr. Kudro Adwa L, ex-relation, Kevin McCletchy. Right? Why is it that this is Her Majesty the Queen versus Kevin McCletchy, but then when you go through the transcript, everything is Kudro Adwa L throughout the whole transcript? Kudro Adwa L. Never once did they mention the all capital letters brand. Right? That this is to let you know that even those corporate people know about nationality, birthrights, ex-relation, whatever. And if they railroad you, they're only railroading you because you're standing up for rights. They're not railroading you because you're wrong. They're not railroading you because you didn't get it and you made a mistake. They're railroading you because they know that their time's up. Right? Which leads us to why we're here today. And the reason that we're here today is to get schooled. Is to get schooled by one of the Moorish master teachers. He might not consider himself a Moorish master teacher, but based on the sincerity that the brother approached us with, right? Like if you go check on the DVD shelf, there's a lecture when I went to Indiana. This is the Moor that brought me to Indiana. Right? This is the Moor that put the money down to bring me to Indiana. You didn't tell me find my way there or whatever, because Moors that are sincere, they deal with things from dignitary perspective. Right? Just like when we went to Chicago for the first time in '07. And the Muftis, they don't know who we are. To us, we're Negro black colored. To them, we were Moorish dignitaries from Canaanland. And they took our bags out of our hand and told us, you're not carrying your bag. No, but it's okay, I carry my bag. Like, I'm fully capable of carrying my bag. No, you don't carry your bags because you're a dignitary. You don't carry your bags because we have an obligation to administer protection, services, etc. to the Moorish nation, right? And these brothers that I didn't know meeting for the first time carried my bags, heavy bags, bags full of DVDs and all that. No questions, no nothing, right? Just like when we went to Delaware, right? Islam to Brother Messiah and Sheikh S. Crystal put down the money for me to go to Delaware. Then don't we find my way there. No different when we went to go to New Jersey, go see Grand Sheik Nature and them. They put down funds so we can put gas in the tank. They go just find a way there, we're having the lecture, just come on down. Right? So the brother is going to be presenting on the state of mind of the Moorish ancients. And he made a request that if people have questions, past questions, questions that just came to your mind right now, questions that, you know, whatever. As soon as it comes to your mind to ask the question, make sure that you put your hand up, interrupt them, it's okay, and ask the question, because this is one of the most active Moors that you're going to find out there. I know we were talking about you know, our position being active, and that Noble Jawali made the charge. Noble Jawali put it on the Moors that all Moors are active, not passive, right? All Moors are active, not passive. So understand, overstand, understand that this is one of the most active Moors that you're gonna encounter, right? And if you have questions, make sure that put your hand up and let the brother
I got one question.
administer. Yeah.
Just one question about that's over with?
Yeah, it's over with because now after this 25th, 2011, they adjourned it to a year later. And when they adjourned it to a year later, they brought up all these same charges again, right? They had me in a little room. They didn't have us in the regular courtroom. They brought us upstairs, you know, some floors up, in some little room with just one pew, and then the judge's bench, and then the witness bench, and then that's it, right? If we could put numbers in the room, maybe 10 people could fit in the room, tops. No more than that, right? That was a ploy to keep Moors out of the room. Because, you know, when we go with a few people, right? And when they went ahead with the case, they were threatening, oh yeah, jail time, and we're going to give you jail time and all this because you have all these tickets that you didn't whatever. In the end, they stuck with operate motor vehicle without insurance and threw out everything else, right? Which, with a Moorish mindset, lets you know that those administrative buildings are only about finance. And if they're about finance, then that means that's not a court. And if that's not a court, that means whatever judgment or whatever that they make is void at law. Right? So when they said operate motor vehicle without insurance and charge the straw, being that I'm executor of that entity, right? My position was to deal with it the best way that I know how to deal with it. So the best way that I know how to deal with it, when they sent that letter saying, okay, well, you know, your trial was this day, now you owe, you know, 20,000, right? I sent them a writ with regard to that. And in the writ, I also sent them a money order for $50 with a ransom on it. And you know, when you don't pay, they usually come back to you and, you know, whatever, right? The money order never got cashed. Because you can check the money order to see if they cashed it or not. The money order never got cashed. I never heard from them ever again. right? Because by me putting ransom on the money order, that put them in a position that, okay, well, if we answer to the writ that he sent us, right, asking us for our delegation of authority and where did we get the jurisdiction to adjudicate this matter when he sent his paperwork prior and there's a default judgment in here and all this, they couldn't answer to that. And then they couldn't cash the money order, because if they cash the money order, then they're agreeing that they're holding something for ransom. So now they're pretty much stuck in a corner, and they have to go bother some Negro black color out there to go get that 20 G's that they wanted to try to extort from me. Because I told them from the jump, and I have the proof right here that, you know, Kudra Adwell is ex-relation of that straw name. So they can't come at me for anything to do with that straw name, because I'm not the trustee of that. I didn't create that.
So in your eyes, is that a win? Is that a win for you? Because like,
I'm out here. I'm out here. Been out here. Right? I never see no inside of no cell, nothing like that. So I consider that a win. Once you get to go home, in my opinion, that's a win.
That's a win.
Once you get to go home, I don't care what they say. Once you get to go home, that's a win. And most times people who don't have nationality.
what if they don't let you go home and then they start to impose this whatever they do, their colorful law, and then they grab you and they throw you in the cell and you're in the cell. Now what are you gonna do? You're stuck in a corner. Nobody's gonna come for you. Like what's going on? I don't
Okay, so for example, right? For example, Brother Maury got pulled over the bench, handcuffs slapped on him,
Yeah.
right? Got taken into the cell, right? Was in the cell doing his push-ups and his pull-ups, getting ready to do his time or whatever, right?
20
and
minutes.
then 20 minutes later, you know, they just let him go. Why? Because if you have the state of mind of the Moorish ancients, that is gonna create an aura around you. We can't come into this information like all the other information that we came into. We have to come into this information from a mental perspective. We have to come into this information knowing, right? Noble Drew said, man must be what he knows. So if you know, but you're not being what you know, then you're doing a disservice. And then if you're being without knowing what you're being, you're doing a disservice. And remember, again, like I told you, right? Like I've been telling you, being that quote unquote you're European, you're more of a threat coming into this information than we are. Because you're part of those people. You're supposed to be down with the corporate construct. You're supposed to be down with it. The fact that you're not down with it means that's like
targeted.
Like, yeah, you become target. You become public enemy number one. Because just like we showed that picture, right, from Maryland with the Europeans holding up the Moroccan flag, they're doing a Moorish flag ceremony. Not a European flag ceremony. They're doing a Moorish flag ceremony. Right? Sacred Drift, Moorish Orthodox Church. That's Europeans. Europeans who study Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and they founded a church called Moorish Orthodox Church, some Europeans. And they're getting further in this information than some Moors are getting in this information. Why? Because they connected to the state of mind of the ancient Moorish foremothers and forefathers. Because they know that they can go, just like we were talking about in the beginning, they can go to Europe and they can pull down the family crest of their name, that's European, and there's going to be a Moor's head on the crest. Which means that their ancestors are Moors, regardless how they look like today. Once you don't have blonde hair and blue eyes, you're a Moor. So with that, Brother Jabbar, Islam, Moor, you're on deck. Do your thing. Islam.
rise giving perfect praise to Allah, the great God of the universe. I rise extending the highest of honors to his last prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And I give you the greetings from our National Grand Sheikh, King Omar Bey, Divine Minister. I want to greet all the Moors in Canada with the great words of peace of Islam.
Islam.
Brothers and sisters, as we know, a prophet was born here in America. The only prophet to ever be born in America was sent to us. And not only is he the last prophet, but he's the greatest of the prophets that came before. And it's very important for the Moors to know that upon his arrival and the completion of his works, our prophet Noble Drew Ali has completely, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. I'm just setting the volume. Go ahead.
Okay. The prophet has completely reshuffled the deck of civilization. And so in this reshuffling of civilization, by putting the Moors back in their proper place, you're going to experience these obstacles when you proclaim your nationality, when you enter into certain venues, into certain forums where your nationality has in fact been activated. You're going to meet these challenges. But for the record, and I think many Moors can bear witness that in their denial of justice for the Moors, these de facto courts have never, not once, have they ever presented one cogent argument that supported their denial of any of the information, the facts, requests, demands that have been stipulated by Moorish Americans in the venue of process. They've never done one cogent argument in their denial. They have offered us prison time. They have offered us fines and penalties. They have offered us almost every injustice that you can imagine for simply activating our birthrights. So I just want to again, give thanks to Grand Sheikh Cujo there and his staff, because the Canaanland Moors, I say this before we go off in anything.
Sorry, Mark. Let me interrupt you a sec. I'm just gonna put the I'm gonna put our side on mute, so we don't get feedback. And then where there's a question, we'll just unmute it. So you just go ahead and when you need a break or you need an interruption, just let me know and I'll unmute.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and I just want to, like I said, I just want to give the highest of honors to the Canaanland Moors for their diligent work. These Moors are, in my opinion, have to be the most active Moors, the most consistent Moors in defending the Prophet, providing the public with information of our Prophet. And these brothers are just incredibly consistent. And aside from that, our brothers and sisters in Canaanland, they're very, very, very humble, which is one of the main attributes of a righteous Moorish American Muslim. I have a few things I want to get into, because whenever I have an opportunity to speak to Moors, I like to uplift the Prophet. And I hope that doesn't bore or become tedious to the Moors, which I don't think so. But I like to uplift the Prophet and to kind of camelback on what the Grand Sheikh Cujo just said, that I heard a little piece of it. I chimed in kind of late. But most of the issues that our people face right now, the difficulty that our people face, believe it or not, is because they refuse to pull away from the marks and brands that lead to slavery. When you call yourself a Negro, when you call yourself black, when you call yourself African American, when you call yourself Latino, etc., these are brands that derive no authority, that derive no birthright, that derive no respect from anybody in the human family. And it's just incredible how something so simple has maintained its station as being something complex. We must declare our nationality. We're Moorish Americans. We have birthrights. We have privileges. We have immunities that are due, that are ours. And it's nothing radical for Moors to proclaim themselves and declare their nationality. There's nothing radical about that, Moors. So I just want to reiterate that off the top, because when you do proclaim your nationality, we know for a fact there are enforcers of Inquisition policies. We know that there are Inquisitionists that are still in effect, and they have never left anywhere. So when the prophet told us that Moors, it was incumbent upon Moors to be upright, to be independent, and to be fearless. And I want to just camel back on that last adjective. The prophet said Moors must be fearless. Now, for the prophet to say that, that means that you're going to come across some obstacles, you're going to come across some situations that's going to call for you to be fearless. It's going to demand that you be fearless. And there's nothing wrong with being fearless, Moors, as long as you stand on the principles of our forefathers. So, with that, I just want to lay down just a basic foundation that our prophet has reshuffled the deck of civilization. And when you declare your nationality, you are, when the Europeans see a Moorish American come into a courtroom, or anywhere, but let's say when the Moors come into the courtroom, they see the fez, they see the turban, they hear the education of one's nationality, and they see the fearlessness of the Moors when they look in their eyes. And these Europeans, these Inquisitionists, what they say to themselves is, this is a nigga that I did not make. This is not my nigga. This is not my doing. This is not my creation. So, when you're then a proper person, you have to understand that you are totally revealing and unveiling the scam that's been perpetrated amongst our people for successive generations. I mean, for generations. And it's a new day. It's a new day. Our prophet has come. He has resurrected our Moors, our people here in the West. And Moors need not run away from their prophet. You know, a lot of Moors have tried a lot of different organizations, and they have joined different clubs and different groups. And some have been, slightly productive in some areas. But all of these organizations have continued to exercise the very thing that keeps our people in the heap of suffering that we're in, by not proclaiming nationality, by calling yourself Negro, black, and colored, and just perpetrating ignorance that has kept us hurt for so many years. You know, there's a lot of organizations, if our people really do the homework, and just going to briefly touch on this, one in particular, as far as the Nation of Islam, you know, I give a lot of honor, I give a lot of credit and respect to, in particular, to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. He's done a lot of good work, but at the same time, in all humility, I have to say that he's done also a huge disservice for the upliftment of our people. And the reason why I say that is, you know, a lot of people know the core truth. A lot of our so-called leaders, they know the core truth. And the core truth is that a prophet was born in America. And we don't say that cliche. We didn't say a smart brother was born in America. We didn't say a sharp and polished brother was born in America. We said that a prophet was born here in America, and that prophet has completed his task and has left us with the charge and the responsibility of fulfilling the goals that he placed before us in order for us to save ourselves. So going back into particular, I'm going to cover a couple of organizations, I guess, or a couple of leaders. Like I said, in particular, starting off with the Nation of Islam, you know, we will be a lot more further along the process of having our own hospitals, schools, universities, banks, farmland, trucking, shipping. We can have all of those things, but they only come after the first mandate has been met, which the first mandate is for us to declare ourselves as Moorish Americans so that we can activate our birthright and remove the marks of sin from over our people by being other than ourselves. You know, and when Moorish Americans talk to brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, you have to understand that when you follow the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, you are in obeisance to the great God Allah. You follow? You have to understand that everybody that came after Noble Jew Ali, okay, has dropped the ball. They have forfeited in some way, shape, or form the standard that was given to them by Noble Jew Ali, the only American-born prophet on these shores. You know, I was speaking with a brother. I was in Chicago and Mecca, because we're right outside of Mecca. We go back and forth all the time. And spoke with a brother from the Nation of Islam and had to really walk him through who Noble Jew Ali was. And a lot of, you will find out within the ranks of the Nation of Islam, you know, even if you look at the Final Call newspaper, okay, they will talk about almost any so-called black leader but Noble Jew Ali. They will talk about even Marcus Garvey, the former. They will mention him occasionally. They'll mention Marcus Garvey. They'll talk about W.B. Du Bois or whatever. They'll talk about Nat Turner. They'll go on and on. But you'll never see, I have never seen, any type of article, any type of information pertaining to the life and contributions, the life-saving teachings of Noble Jew Ali. Never. So anyway, talking to the brother had to walk him through. And when you talk, Brother Dear Moors, I want to give you a little piece of, a piece of advice when you talk to these Moors in particular, because we want to talk to people who have an effect in our community that has some influence, some, limited positive influence in our communities. We just want to communicate to them properly. But when you talk to brothers and sisters from the Nation of Islam, remember, dear Moors, when we talk about doctrines, all right, when we talk about doctrines, always stick to the original text of any organization. Whether it's the Hebrew Israelites, whoever it is, stick to the original doctrine that these individuals purport to claim to the public for the salvation of our people. In particular, we were talking about the Supreme Wisdom Book of the Nation of Islam. Now, dear Moors, we have to do our homework, and we know that the individual they call Master Farad Muhammad used to be a member of the Moorish Science Temple. That's just a bona fide fact. Some people, some individuals would like to disagree, but it's just a bona fide fact. This individual used to be a part of the Nation of Islam. And after our Prophet veiled form, he started his own organization. Now, when you get the Supreme Wisdom book, share it with these members of the Nation of Islam, and you open up the very first page of the Supreme Wisdom, not the Message to the Black Man, not Our Savior Has Arrived, none of those books. Open up the original manuscript for the Nation of Islam, and you'll see that it says that Master Farad Muhammad is a prophet. It calls him Prophet W.D. Farad in the beginning of the Supreme Wisdom. Now, when he called himself the prophet, that's fresh off the heels of our prophet Veil Form. He called himself the prophet, W.D. Farad Muhammad. While the majority of his time there and upon teaching the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Shortly after that, he became God in person. He became Allah in person shortly after that. And then shortly after that, he became the Mahdi. Now, how you can be a prophet and then be Allah and then be the Mahdi, I don't know how you can do that. You do that by instilling the true identity of a real prophet. If you study back, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, I just want to show you the power and influence of Noble Drew Ali in one of many organizations in our communities. Now, if you study the Old Muhammad Speaks, you will see at the front of the Old Muhammad Speaks newspaper, and you can Google it, go Google it, you'll see the universal hand claps of the Moorish shaking hands. That's an influence from Noble Drew Ali. In the beginning of the Nation of Islam, they used to be called temples. That's directly fresh off the heels of Noble Drew Ali. Direct influence of Noble Drew Ali. They used to be called temples. And it wasn't until later, and in particular with Malcolm X, that they started calling it mosque, such and such. They used to be called the temple people. So that's a direct influence from Noble Drew Ali. The MGTGCC, if Moors be diligent and go get some old pictures of the Women's Auxiliary of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the structure is identical. From learning how to sew, learning how to cook, the mannerisms of a true Muslim woman, all of these things that are taught in the Women's Auxiliary was implemented and copied and coined into the Nation of Islam. And many Moors already know the popular picture of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with his fez, and he requested that his followers remove the fez. Well, I don't know, but some Moors say to distinguish himself, but again, like I said, in many ways, and it's just time for us to open up the window on these facts. It was a disservice to the rise and consciousness of our people. If you look at a couple more points, you look at the Supreme Wisdom book in itself, is formatted after the 101s and 102s of the Prophet themselves, of itself. Is directly coined from our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Also, I was looking through, talking with some of our brothers here in Mecca, made a good point here, good analysis, that even Noble Drew Ali was the first to speak upon a plane or a ship that's constructed or will be utilized in saving wars. I want to refer to this particular copy of Moorish literature. Many Moors probably have seen this right here. Just want to go to page, the first page actually, and it's the sayings and quotes of people who witnessed and heard our Prophet Noble Drew Ali make certain statements. Now I just want to read this right here. It's number 11 in the Moorish literature. The sayings of the Prophet. This is what was reported that our Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. It says, Sister M. Peyton Bay of Temple 4 and 25 said that the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, I have got airplanes, zeppelins, and apparatus. I'm going to take my good Moors up in the apparatus on an incline And until it's all over with, when the fiery destruction comes at the end of time, the prophet is going to take his good morals up on an incline until the destructions is over with, when they will be saved. Then they will return to earth to dwell. That runs directly parallel to the teachings of Elijah Muhammad in the mothership. We know that Noble Drew Ali made Chicago the national headquarters of the Moorish Temple of America. And we know that Elijah Muhammad quickly followed the ways of the prophet and made Chicago the head of the nation of Islam. So I'm saying all this to say what? I'm saying that we have to uplift our prophet. There are certain people throughout America, there's groups in America that take the information of our prophet, distort it, remove the prophet, and try to capitalize on the manipulation of the prophet's teachings. This is what I'm saying to you, Moors. We have to become greater defenders of our prophet. We have to become more active in uplifting fallen humanity with the teachings as instructed to us by Noble Drew Ali. Now, the prophet wanted us to know that we were Moors. He wanted us to know our great legacy, our contributions on this earth. He wanted us to remove the greatest sin that was on us, which was these brands, if you will, of Negro, black, and colored, which kept us in the muck and mire of sinning and debauchery and filth. And nobody respects anybody on this earth who don't honor their forefathers and their foremothers. Nobody honors a people like that. So it's imperative for Moors to reclaim the ways and the lifestyle and the culture of our forefathers. You know, our people are so great, you know, the Inquisitionists do not want us to ever reconnect to that legacy. Because if you reconnect yourself back to your forefathers, you are bound to repeat. You are bound to repeat those heights. You are bound to repeat those accomplishments and even greater. I was doing some research here a few days ago. I don't know how many Moors are familiar with what a falconer is. A falconer. I was looking over some of the sciences that the Moors of old, the ancient Moors, mastered. And it's so many to name, but one that stood out, one science that stood out to me was the science of falconering. And what this is, in particular, what was used really was two groups of Moors, Moorish civilizations that were very popular for this science. One group of Moors were the Moors under Hannibal of Carthage, and the other group of Moors was under General Tariq, who went in to civilize, not invade, but to expand high civilization into Europe. But a falconer, Moors, is the science of taking birds of prey, your eagles, your falcons, etc., owls even, and you would perch the falcon on your arm, your forearm, and whatever communication that you instill into that bird, the bird of prey, which is a wild bird, will go out and do what was instructed of it. So the Moors, what we used to do in ancient times, when we were battling with Romans, we would have falcons in particular, and we would have falcons go out and scout the area, and after a certain duration of time, that same falcon will come back and report to the Moors the positionings of the Romans. And this is one way how Hannibal was so so masterfully skilled, not just the elephants, but this is only one of the many disciplines that Moors had that made us such rulers and conquerors on this earth that we would take falcons and have falcons and go out and get food and bring food back. We'll give various instructions to the falcons, and those same falcons and eagles will come back and report the information that was requested upon it by our forefathers. Just think over that for a while. You can communicate to an eagle to go out and retrieve whatever, 3 pigeons, 3 ducks, and it comes back and brings it. What kind of science is that? Oh no, yeah, turn out. Islam. All right, this is what, brother, I'm gonna share one little jewel that Brother Taj gave me. He said, you know, if you can meet on the highway, right, and a police officer, a policy officer, pulls you over, right? The policy officer does not care if you're driving a Corvette, a truck, Cadillac, whatever. Guess what the policy officer is going to ask you for? So ask you for your driver's license and insurance. Regardless of the vehicle or the mode of transportation, that don't matter to him. He has his set standards and what he's requesting. So, what I would do, and like I would say, I personally, I'm really not going to be, I have a couple major situations that I've dealt with the courts. One, you know, it's family, the situation, and my Moorish square took care of me all the way through. I never had a situation, no issue with a license. In these years, I haven't had an issue. But I'm going to share this information from Brother Taj. Regardless of the vehicle that you're driving, he's going to ask you for your driver's license and insurance. You, as the free national, you have to have the same discretion that they have. You shouldn't care what kind of venue or what kind of court it is. You need to ask for jurisdiction. You need to submit an avenue of jurisdiction that for them to prove in written form and enter into the record that they have jurisdiction. What you say you did, I think if I heard you right, you submitted that. You follow what I'm saying? Go to the court. Always make your special appearance. You know, when the couple times I had to go, I let the court know that I'm making that special appearance. I'm not here. My presence does not afford you jurisdiction. I'm making and use that language, special appearance. You make a special appearance only to clear up a matter. Because like you already know, I'm sure, that ticket is a suit. Yes. You follow what I'm saying? When they give you a ticket, that's a suit. So I will start off immediately out the gate for them. That would be the home run hitter for me. That's for them to give to them, for them to prove jurisdiction. And they're not going to be able to prove jurisdiction. So that's the grounds that I will always, that's the ground I will roll off of if I had a transportation situation like that. You follow what I'm saying? I will ask that jurisdiction, and then if they don't, you know, then I have to just take the necessary responses if they try to proceed, which is called abusive process. Whenever you submit a avenue of jurisdiction, and they try to act like they don't want to acknowledge that they have to show that they have authority from the U.S. Congress and D.C. to adjudicate over you, and they want to just go on as if you did not submit that paperwork, it's called an abusive process. And the case from that point could be dismissed. So I would pursue every avenue in which to have it dismissed. That's what I would do, because it's all fraud. You know what I'm saying? We got the rights. We got the unbridled rights to use these highways and to travel on these highways. You know, and that's not a privilege. In fact, I wish I have, I have that, it's out in the car. I have all of that information. I could just give a brother Ranchi Cujo. He can also call me after the class or your convenience tomorrow morning, whatever, I'm gonna give you a couple of laws that you can cite, some case laws if you don't have them, and some other information that you can submit for the court. But we have the rights, because it's not a privilege, as we already know. And when they say that you cannot commute on the highways, you can't travel on the land to take care of your family, that's almost like a sentence of death. So, beloved, you did the right thing by submitting by letting your paperwork precede you, and I would look for those grounds among that's based on dismissals. That's what I would do. If they don't prove jurisdiction, I would dismiss on that grounds. And if they try to ignore it and proceed, that's called an abusive process. You can look that up, and you can dismiss it on that. But a lot of what they're doing behind closed doors, right quick, it's called strict scrutiny. This is what they're doing to Moorish Americans. If Moors get a Black's Law Dictionary, which I'm kind of like not even fond of any of those either nowadays, but get a Black Laws Dictionary, I think it's in the 8th edition. It's in the newer editions, 8th edition. Look up the term strict scrutiny. And this is what they do in the Moors. But give it to Grand Sheik, and I want to give you a couple things that you can put in your paperwork, beloved.
Yes, can you spell that?
Islam, thank you. One more thing. These driving under suspension tickets, this is probably one of the third or fourth one. So when I was looking up on the Highway Traffic Act, it says that the maximum penalty is 6 months jail time. I know I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna stand, firm, but if they do whatever they do and they try to jump over my paperwork.
That's an abusive process.
Abusive process, right. Now, if they were to do anything of that degree, everybody over here is telling me that, they won't have grounds to hold me for more than a couple of days, right? But that's just pretty much. Like I said earlier, I just need a little bit more energy because I'm pretty new at this too, and I'm just a little bit worried. Not fearful, but just a little. I don't know how I'm gonna react.
You never expect to be.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Thank you for the offering of the paperwork. I'll check it out when you give it to Grand Sheik. And
have them deal with me, and like I said, there's a lot of things we can do, and I just say as a disclaimer, which all boards are educated to do, to let those agents know that I'm not an attorney. Alright? I don't practice, I'm not a legally practicing attorney. So this is just a case of scenario of what I would do for myself. But definitely get with the Grand Sheik, and I will get that information to you ASAP.
Alright. Islam, thank you.
Islam, good brother.
I just wanted to read the strict scrutiny since I found it here, just so we can get it on the record.
How do you spell that?
Strict scrutiny, SCRUTINY. Constitutional law. The standard applied to suspect classifications such as race in equal protection analysis and to fundamental rights such as voting rights in due process analysis. Under strict scrutiny, the state must establish that it has a compelling interest that justifies and necessitates the law in question. See compelling state interest test.
They're scrutinizing. Go ahead.
Sorry. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, because they're scrutinizing the validity of your claim based on your nationality. This is what they're doing. This is that vacuum of time that they're using to construct their grounds to violate your birthrights. This is what they're doing. that definition, the first part of definition is the part to really focus on. They're scrutinizing your nationality. They're scrutinizing the legitimacy of the paperwork that precedes you. And they have no, I'm telling you right now, for the most part, the majority of these venues, all right, these Masonic judges, they have no interest in delivering you or acknowledging your birthright, because the whole racket is to steal your birthright. That's what they're there for, ultimately. All these other people, these are new people to the country. You follow what I'm saying? They know, they set up this system. This system was set up against the Moors. Everything else is additional. You know, you got the Burmese coming in, you got all these people come from around the world, you know, Japanese, whatever. These people are Johnny-come-latelys to this land. The system that we've been oppressed by was set up against the Moors. You follow what I'm saying? So, like I said earlier, don't be surprised, dear Moor. They're not going to just, you know, let you keep your lunch money. That's what I'm telling you. They're not just going to keep you. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to continue to unite on these principles of nationality until it culminates to ultimate justice. So we're going to have some people that do, you know, my good brother, you know, they falsely arrested him and kidnapped him for a duration of time. He just got out. You know, he did some months. Did about 10 months. You know, but we're going to have Moors, you know, go through 6 months, a month, 2 days. We're going to have Moors go through these injustices. I mean, it's a reality. So, but this is what they're doing. They scrutinize, they take time to scrutinize your paperwork, and they choose not to give you justice, or how to see, they don't pursue to see how to have justice. They don't pursue the route for justice. They are only interested in the theft of your birthrights. That's it. And to discourage you. That's what it's meant for. Whenever a Moor comes before that court, the objective is to break his spirit. It's for you to sit down in jail for 2 weeks to say, what's the use? It's meant to break your spirit. But that's why the prophet said we're supposed to be upright, independent, and fearless. And we follow the prophet to a destination that is now uncertain. That's what we do. So, you know, dear Moor, I pray that you do get a more, a magistrate or a venue that you receive more justice than not. That's why I pray for you. But be courageous nonetheless. And it is a matter to be concerned about. 6 months, even 1 day, is too much time to be incarcerated by these foreigners.
Question on this matter with regard to them scrutinizing. So let's say the situation is you recognize that they're gonna scrutinize and they start taking the motions of stealing your birthright. Is it wise under or strictly under threat, duress, and coercion to claim to be representative of the strong, to just so that you can get to go home?
And anytime you do claim that's what it got to be. It is under duress and stress. You follow what I'm saying? That's a decision for you. That's a decision for you to make for yourself and those that love you, that know the situation in full that you're up against. But yeah, anytime you do claim that strong, beloved, it is under duress. It is under stress. You follow what I'm saying? That's what it is. And whenever it is under duress and stress, any contract or any action, all right, can be revoked. It can be challenged again if it was made under duress, because that's what they're doing. It's under duress and stress. They're threatening you with incarceration. That's what it is, beloved. But again, like I said, I would have to know and read with you. We can build offline. You know what I'm saying? We can build offline. And I do have another brother with me who's, even in those particular matters, is probably far more proficient than myself. And we can get you some remedies that you can feel comfortable, you know, going in, you know, in front of those Masonic judges. I want you to call me, and I can also give you a couple of numbers of some good brothers that would love to assist you with that.
Right. Also too, in addition to that, what about, because I've heard Moors up here have done it, and it sort of works, claiming to be agent for the straw, not necessarily claiming to be the straw, but under threat, duress, and coercion, claiming to be the agent of the straw, so at least still that way they can't tie the straw to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's kind of a window to deal with it without, you know, having to necessarily claim it as you being it.
Because you're not it.
Right.
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 Yeah, and that is another option. I've heard of a couple of brothers up here, the South Bend, Indiana area. I heard one brother being successful doing that, and the other brother wasn't. The other brother, I think, got, I think it was 30 days. They gave the brother 30 days on that type of demonstration. So that is, again, it depends what you're facing. You know, like you said, 6 months. It depends on those details, but that is something I would probably do. That's a route that I would probably, with only 6 months. You know, I'm not saying only 6 months like it ain't nothing, because that's enough to derail a lot in your life. But that's probably a chance I would do. But even if you do it the other way, by signing off on everything under duress and stress, you know, beloved, that is an option too. I don't know if you have children. I don't know what you have to do. You know, and maybe that's a situation you can go back and revisit. You know, you can sign off on duress and stress coercion. You follow what I'm saying? Same thing like I said with the Moorish paying taxes. You know, when I send off that stuff, anything that I'm forced to do, when I know better that we don't have to do, I make sure, or any money order, anything, that I document that this is being done under threat, duress, and coercion. I do that. So those are your options, beloved. But like I said, I got a brother who is a master legal mind in their world and in more science. That, you know, probably, you know, go over those particulars all together and pick the best choice for you. That's what I would do. I would just, you know, give me a call this evening when class is over, or whatever's good for you in the morning, and let's get you in tune with some brothers who that's all they do.
Yeah, I'll definitely get your contact to the Moor. Two more things. I don't think we have any more questions, but two things. One, to speak about the mentality that we should have in dealing with this information, like based on us having to be up against them, you know, 99% of the time it's a battle with them, right? So, you know, Noble Ali, like you said, made the statement of us being fearless, but what, you know, that might just be words to some people. Like, what does it really mean when he made that statement about us being fearless based on what we're up against? And the second part is all the Skype lecturers that do lectures for Canaanland Moors, we need advice moving forward, or whatever it is that you need to let us know, you know, from yourself to Canaanland, what we need moving forward so we can continue in helping the prophet and the missionary work.
Islam.
Yes, no.
All right, that comment that's invoked by all the Moors, especially all throughout Mecca, to be. When we talk about fearless, first we have to, before we can be fearless, all right, we have to be upright. That's the foundation. That's the criteria that you meet before you even worry about being fearless. Because it don't do us no good to be fearless in criminality or foulness. You follow what I'm saying? We have to first be upright. And upright means living according to the creed and the customs of righteousness from our forefathers. That's being upright. Living according to the customs, the standards, and the ways and norms of our forefathers. Essentially, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. When we live a righteous and clean life, you follow? Then we are to be industrious. When we are industrious, we are independent. When we create jobs and opportunities for ourselves, we are independent. Once we meet those two requirements, chances are you're going to be in a predicament when you're dealing with those who seek to steal our birthrights that's going to require you to be fearless. So they're not just words. Being fearless comes with responsibilities. It comes with being upright, and it comes with being independent. A lot of Moors, most cases with these Moors though, and I gotta be honest, a lot of these cases that our Moors are into are situations that we put ourselves into. Now there are some scenarios like the right to travel that this is being thrown at us. We have a right to travel, period. Traveling is not it's not a privilege that comes from the foreigners. That's a right that comes from our forefathers, that comes from Almighty God Allah Himself. That's a right. But a lot of scenarios that Moors go through are things that we bring upon ourselves. You know, and I can guarantee you that a great, overwhelming amount of court issues that Moors are dealing with are in some way, shape, or form in violation to the standards of our forefathers. Point blank. That's what it is. You know, I tell Moors, you know, I can't be a judge by no means. None of us can judge the Moor next to us. I don't even want to. I don't even investigate. The Moors got, you know, the Prophet told us in this literature, every Moor has a secret. You know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in anybody's secrets. But at the same time, you know, I'm not going to take away time from being active on the front lines to, you know, help a brother who got a, you know, public intoxication charge. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. Or a burglary charge or drugs. Yeah. You should know not to do that. Yeah. The Prophet's example is already clearly cut. Mm-hmm. So in that instance, I really don't want to take away energy from helping the children, from helping the elderly, from helping generate finances for other causes for Moorish activity to help you because you felt you could sell some drugs on the side. So saying that, I'm just going to say that being fearless comes with being responsible. It comes with being upright first and independent and then being fearless. It's not just words. It's not just cliche. It's something that, like I said at the beginning of class, the arrival of our prophet has reshuffled. It has totally reshuffled the deck of civilization. It has reshuffled society. We can't see it in its totality yet, but it's here, Moors. It's here. This is a day that a lot of the founding fathers of the European system Therefore, the founding fathers, they never want to live during this transition right here. This is a divine transference of authority on the earth. It doesn't require for any more to be ruthless. You don't have to become a rogue. We're not violators of the law. We are not violent people. We are to be righteous. We are to be humble. And we are to be loving to all members of the human family. But at the same time, we are now in this era of time where we are going to be charged, with the responsibilities of being the custodians of humanity, the standard bearers. I'm gonna say this right quick. You know, some of the Europeans seek to, European academics, European scholars, they want to try to throw a mystery as to who were the Moors. In particular, I'm speaking of medieval time, right? But you know, one of the traits that you can tell the Moors about how you know it's us. You know, when we went into Spain, when we were in Toledo, Cordova, Granada, all that terrain. When we were inventing all of these technologies over there, the sewage systems, all of this stuff, the water wheel, everything over there, right? We were known as inventors. But don't you know, even during chattel slavery, the Moors here in North America were still creating things, you know, the traffic light, cotton gin. We were still we were still inventing things, even under the yoke of physical slavery. In fact, we created more inventions under the yoke of physical slavery than we do now in so-called freedom. But that only goes to show you that we are even more in bondage today than we were when the yoke was around our necks. Because we haven't produced nothing in so-called physical freedom and intellectual freedom. We have produced nothing. But the Moors who had physical bondage and straight up oppression still laid out DC. Still, look at Carver. Look at George Washington Carver. We can go on and on. Look at these Moors who had greater obstacles on them than we do today, and we're not producing nothing. So Moors, you know, our goal, you know, the goal of the Moorish movement is not cliche. You know, it's not something that's, you know, you're not going to see everything at once, but if you pay attention to the prophecies, you will see. You know, the prophet told us for the Europeans, they were going to have a shortage of ammunition. Right in the literature. There were going to be a shortage of ammunition to the point that they were going to destroy their own church towers, remove the bells, and refashion them and make bullets out of them. Now, I encourage all the Moors to go Google shortage of bullets in the United States. And you tell me if the prophet is not the prophet. You tell me, how does a man back in that era of time, back then, there was no internet, there was no high-speed technology information. He said back then, when things were so slow, you know what I'm saying? So-called slow. He said that back then about the prophecies now. And you just go through the list, go read these prophecies, and you match them up and you tell me that Noble Ali is not a divinely raised and sent, or divinely raised, ordained, and sent prophet in this era of time. I challenge anybody. And there was a second part to, you had a second part, Grand Chief, to that question?
Yeah, the second part was advice to Canaanland Moors, because this is just standard for all Skype lectures.
Yeah.
That, you know, when they do a Skype with us, to close it out, they have to give us
Right.
advice and close us out with the prayer.
Islam. My advice, I want to say this. The two points that I would like to share with all Moors, not just with the Moors in Canaanland, but all Moors everywhere. It's time for the Moors to love instead of hate. Really. That most important instruction from Noble Drew Ali has become the most cliche in this movement. You follow what I'm saying? The fact that we have so many different Moorish organizations and so many different so-called grand bodies, right, is because we're not properly loving one another as we ought to. If you love somebody, you'll be all in the same house. If you truly loved and did not hate, we will all be together. Now I know it sounds, I don't know what the word is, it sounds what they call like a fantasy, but it's not fantasy. Moors can love. It is reachable, it's obtainable that we can love each other and unify. There's some Moors that rob you for nationality. They know who they are. So good educated Moors, knowledgeable Moors, school me in civics on some things. Gave me a lot of knowledge, a lot of inspiration. But guess what? I wasn't careful. And he enslaved me. He got me. He enslaved me. He sure did. But you know, I broke out the chains. I got some knowledge. I broke out the chains. I'll never be enslaved again. But the point is this. My advice is that for Moors, we must learn to love and we must learn to unite. We must learn to put aside some of our differences in order to obey the Prophet. And the injustice is going on through the Moorish movement. And we've been talking about this in Mecca a lot. And things are changing in Mecca. So also, I want to say that right quick. I'm glad that came up. I almost forgot. In obeying the Prophet and loving our brothers, there's a lot of unification and love being demonstrated and differences being laid aside in Moorish Mecca. And pay attention to the Prophet's prophecies. Again, when he said that Chicago was going to become the new Mecca of Moorish Americans. That's true. So I'm saying that Moors, we need to learn to love one another. Put aside our differences. Stop looking for your sister's fault. Stop looking for your brother's fault. And learn to love instead of hate, and put the work first to become active. Because you know what? When you're really active in the Moorish movement, when you're really engaged, you don't got time for you don't look for that the negativity. You really don't have time for it. You follow what I'm saying? When you're really engaged in being an active Moor and not being a passive Moor, you're engaged. You don't have time for it. You're concerned with the upliftment of your people, and you're not interested in power play. Who's this guy with the big eyes, the little you? Grand Sheik Cujo said it best in one of his classes I was watching. There's only one Grand Sheik. There's only one Supreme Grand Sheik in the Moorish movement. And that's Noble Drew Ali. You follow what I'm saying? There's only one. There's only one Supreme Grand Mufti in this movement. That's Noble Drew Ali. There's only one. So I'm saying, Moors, we must unite. I want to say this before we close out class. In the spirit of unity, and you know, Moors, well, I'm about, this demonstration that I'm about to share with you, I don't necessarily agree with everything, all right, in this demonstration I'm going to share with you, but this demonstration needs the support of every Moorish American on this continent, on North, South, Central America, and the adjoining islands, all right? Moors from around the country have, on October 20th, this coming October 20th, Moors have secured the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And the Moorish Americans have secured this mall in D.C. for the 100th centennial registration, national registration and census for Moorish Americans. Now, this is a very powerful event, and I want to close our class with this event, all right? Imagine on October 20th, seeing thousands and thousands and thousands of fezzes and turbans in the streets. Another prophecy of Noble Drawing. Thousands and thousands of fezzes and turbans in the streets on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. for the centennial registration and census of Moorish Americans on these shores. Now, I understand the corporate construct. I understand all of that. I understand that, we are a nation of people. But guess what? We have to communicate to these Europeans. We have to communicate. And I want Moors to think over that. Don't enter this information. Don't enter this one about the shit. Don't be pessimistic, but really be open-minded in the spirit of love. Moors are coming together from all around the country on October 20th. It'll be the last day of the National Convention. So if there were independent conventions already going on, you still could chime in and still be in accordance with being inside of a convention for a greater cause of national good for Moorish Americans throughout this country. Moors on October 20th are going to get together and push, all right, we ain't marching or nothing like that, but Moors are going to gather in D.C. for a national census and registration. And this is for Moors to make themselves known to the world, because, the elite of other societies, they know about us already. They knew about the advent of Noble Drew Ali. They knew about his ordination. They already know about that, the elite. But the common people, the masses, the business people, the families, the world, they're going to have an opportunity to see Moorish Americans. They're going to have an opportunity. It's going to be on the news. It's going to be covered. It's going to be live coverage. They're going to see pictures of Noble Drew Ali. They're going to see flags, Moorish flags everywhere. They're going to see masses of Moorish Americans, masses of fezzes and turbans everywhere. And people are going to ask, what's all that about? Who are those people with fezzes and turbans? Why are they talking about nationality? Why are they saying they're not Negro, Black, or colored Latino? What's all this? What's going on in D.C. now? Could you imagine the interest? Could you see you networking with Moors who don't necessarily be in the computer world, who owns acres of land, farmland, who owns businesses, and you can meet your brother and sister eye to eye, hand in hand. I'm saying all this to say this, that on October 20th, the National Park Service has already approved and set aside for Moorish Americans to attend by the thousands on the mall in D.C. to declare themselves to the world. It's already been reserved. It's already there. They're going to have stations where you can, if you have food to sell, books, things of that nature, to promote and bring awareness to the masses, all of that will be available. There will be speakers, If you have enlightened speakers that you think can uplift and educate the masses to what the Moorish movement is all about, at the end of the statement, I'm going to give you a contact number that you can make a contact, all right, with the Supreme Grand Manager of this event. And I encourage all Moors, this is my advice, let this be one demonstration that we don't come up with some type of excuse. Well, we have our own convention, or who's doing, stop being pessimistic. No other nation of people really do that but the Moors. Really, we're the only ones to do that. So, we have an opportunity for Moors to be seen around the world, and I just want to encourage all Moorish Americans to put that on your date, charter a bus, and I think about, one Moor saying, well, that sounds so much like the Million Man March. You know what? You still went to it. And you went, and you showed up as a Negro, you showed up as a black, you showed up as a nothing, and you sat out there for all day long, all right, for the end of that speech, and you didn't even hear nothing. So now you're gonna come on a mission that means something, that can get you acknowledged, because a lot of the suffrage that Moors are going through, family in Canaanland, is that they claim that this is a group, or this is some mysterious armed group, or whatever. We're pushing, and like I said, I don't agree with everything, but I see the greater good of it. I see the greater good of it. If Moors on these census, it will make us more known and open, and people will be more familiar with Moorish Americans in general. And it seem like there's some offshoot cult or something like that. We are a real nation of people, descent people living here in the Americas. So I want to encourage all Moors, this is my advice, start making moves to unify. Let's transcend our differences. There's only one temple, and that temple belongs under the leadership of Noble Drew Ali. As long as you are espousing love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and you have those principles, you have our Constitution, you have our bylaws, you have our standards from Noble Drew Ali, you got that Moorish flag, the flag that Noble Drew Ali brought us, you have everything that the Prophet gave us, and you will follow the dictates of the Moorish Holy Quran. We are one family. We're one family, and we're on the move as one family. So I'm saying on October 20th, dear Moors, October 20th coming up, the National Mall of Washington, D.C. has already been approved and secured and set aside for Moorish Americans to come out and demonstrate and push for their national census and registration, and amongst other issues, and address our grievances and our concerns as a nation of people. So I encourage all Moors to participate in that day. If you stand by 1 second before we close out with prayer, I'm going to give you the phone number. All right? This number belongs to Sister Alston Bay. Came up under the leadership of our German Bay. So you know she's qualified, duly certified. Why don't you Moors take this phone number down? I got a day phone number, a day contact for you. Her number and her staff, the number can be reached. This number is 202-696-0088. Once again, that number is 202-696-0088. That's the phone number you can reach. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything, please call that number during the day. During the evening time, if you get off work late, you have time to talk late night, this is the evening number to contact. That number is 202-725-2686. All right, I'm giving it to you again. That number is 202-725-2686. Moors, let's let the masses of the people know we're here. Let's let the world know. Let's stand up and take our place in the affairs of men and be recognized as linking ourselves back into the family of nations. All right, then, Moors, October 20th, any questions or concerns, please call me, call Sister Austin Bay, and I have a new flyer that'll be coming out here next week with more information on it. I'll get that to the Grand Sheik and the staff in Canaanland. And again, I just want to thank Grand Sheik Cujo for inviting other Moors that's active in the movement to, have a moment amongst his class. I mean, we don't take that lightly, and I'm appreciative that a brother of this magnitude and his mufti, appreciate that brother's lectures, and just the whole staff in general. Canaanland is up front. And when I talk about frontline activity, I always point to Canaanland. Make no mistake about it. When it comes to Canada, all right, we know, and this is from Mecca, we send those Moors in Canada to Grand Sheik Cujo. All right, so any Moors have any questions on Moorish science, the application of Moorish science, the prophet standards, Grand Sheik Cujo is already exemplifying those standards. So we want all Moors to be unified, to practice love, and abandon hatred. So that's going to end today's class. We appreciate you for inviting us, dear Moors. And again, I extend the highest of honors from the National Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple, Grand Sheik Kiyu Umar Bey. And we can end in prayer. And we thank you again, beloved.
There's a lot more. Thank you.
Islam, peace.
Allah, the Father of the universe,
Allah,
the Father of love,
Love,
truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
At night
At night
and by day,
and by day,
through His holy prophet,
through His holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
through Ali.
Amen.
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 Islam.
Thank you for us, Canaanland.
Give thanks, Mark. I'll give you a shout later. Peace and love, Mark.
Islam.
peace and love, Islam.